Lawyers of Reddit, what is the pettiest reason you've ever seen for divorce? A client and his wife came in regarding a real estate transaction. At the end of the consultation, the client casually stated that he would like to divorce his wife. I was stunned. The wife started crying. The client started rubbing his wife's shoulder and told her that everything would be okay. That was an awkward few minutes. The weirdest I've ever seen is a co-worker of mine. His wife saw a picture of him at a pool when he was in high school and really athletic, toned, muscular, tan and so on. Over the 10 years after high school he stopped lifting and lost his muscle tone and just became skinny. She told him she wanted him to get back to working out because she really liked the way he once looked, and he said it was something he missed doing and agreed to get a gym membership. He was going to the gym 4 days a week but was only really working out for 2 of them. On the days he didn't work out he would sit in the sauna to get sweaty, watch Netflix and then go home. When she asked about him going to the gym and accidentally let it slip that he was fudging workouts twice a week, she apparently found that to be a deal breaker and filed for divorce. Weird feeling to have your wife attracted more to a past version of yourself she never met than you. It would give me some serious depression. My father-in-law and mother-in-law's breaking point was when he threw a breadcrumb at her from across the kitchen. The divorce took 4 years to settle. The breadcrumb heard around the house. I had a client who with his wife were into a computer game like The Sims, only more X-rated. I think it was called Second Life, where you have an avatar and can interact with other people's avatars. He suspected his wife of, through her avatar, hijinks and made his own avatar to stalk her in the game. Sure enough, her avatar was doing the dirty with some dude's avatar. That was it for my client. Wife wanted divorce like 2 months into marriage because the husband would squeeze the toothpaste from the top and not bottom. She claims to have told him a million times over to stop. Would have been easier to get 2 toothpastes, I thought. Definitely the fridge story. A woman filed for divorce because her husband would eat everything he can find in their fridge whenever the wife was out for work. So she came back to an basically empty fridge each night. He also cheated on her, but she was less angry about that. The fridge was what pushed her to the point she wanted a divorce. Honestly, I understand. My younger sister stole my M&Ms once and I was pee. Can't imagine if it was someone I was married to eating everything in the fridge. I'm far too hangry to take such a thing rationally. I'm a lawyer but not that kind. However, my brother's 4th wife divorced him because she found out the ring he'd used was originally his 3rd wife's. They deserved each other. I think once you get up to a 4th wife maybe you should rethink your life choices in general. Nobody ever believes me about this one, but it's true. A man wanted a divorce from his wife because, and he gave this example as the last straw, his wife ate those nasty pumpkin Halloween candies, like candy corn but pumpkin shaped. He had been looking forward to them all day and when he got home, she had eaten them all. He snapped. Swear on my life this story is true. Should have been in their marriage vows to have them to hold, from this day forward, as long as you don't eat all the pumpkin candies. I once had clients who got a divorce because she wanted to buy a condo in Naples, FL. The petty part of the story is that combined their lawyer fees would have bought a very nice condo on the water in Naples. Ethel Merman divorced Ernest Borgnine after about a month because he often would Dutch oven her. She wrote a biography. The chapter about her marriage to him is a single blank page. Lawyer but not a family law lawyer by trade. Not sure if pettiness was attached, but one contributing reason to her divorce I saw was that mom wanted her son to play soccer and dad didn't. Probably had fundamental differences in how they believe their children should be raised, and this was just a symptom of it. Not me, but a family member, who is an attorney, had someone call her day 4 of the lockdown saying I have been stuck with my wife for 4 days, and I need a divorce. I'm sorry, but compared to the others I've read here, this is one of the most hilarious in my eyes. Not a lawyer, but apparently my brother divorced his wife when McDonald's forgot to put BBQ sauce in with her chicken nuggets at the drive-thru and she asked him to go back and get some. He didn't, and then I guess she started smashing up food and throwing it at him out the window. So yeah, McDonald's, how could you ruin a marriage? Dandruff. Wife didn't like that the husband's dandruff would flow into her face when riding a bike. They make bicycles built for one now. I know. But my dad divorced my mom because she didn't throw enough parties. Now he lives alone. He neither throws nor goes to parties. Not a lawyer. My mom's co-worker divorced over dishes in the dishwasher. The wife would get so frustrated over the husband, co-worker, not rinsing dishes before he loads them in the dishwasher. To compromise, they bought a super nice, top of the line dishwasher. Solves the problem, right? She yelled about the dishes that night. He filed for divorce the next day. I rinse dishes, but the manual for my sweet meal dishwasher says don't. The food particles are detected as part of the rinse cycles as far as I know. My first internship in law school was at a family law firm. Did work on one case where a couple divorced after 48 years of marriage. The guy said he finally got sick of her cooking. Not a lawyer, paralegal. Someone came in for a divorce because their soon-to-be ex changed the password on their phone. The plaintiff had always had the code to get in, but now they didn't. Divorce time. Not a lawyer, but this happened to my wife's cousin. Her husband came home one day asking her to give a higher financial contribution on the groceries because she, as a lady, was using more toilet paper than him. She took it as a joke and had a good laugh. He got mad and asked for divorce. Worth mentioning that his salary was 3 times higher than her one. Almost every freaking guy I've lived closely with seems to wrap the paper 20 times around the hand, then wipe once and do it again. The waste paper basket is there. Yes, I did not ask you to fill it. I remember one episode of a TV show here in my country, similar to Jerry Springer. The woman didn't know her husband used dentures until marrying and living together. She said she couldn't handle anymore. She was disgusted. They both cried. She said a lot of "I'm sorry," but she couldn't go on. They were married for a few months. Don't know if it was true though. It's like the legend of the Chinese couple. He found out after they got married that she had gotten work done before meeting him. He sued her for misrepresenting herself. My aunt used to work as a divorce lawyer. The worst one was the couple fighting over a hamster, of which took so long the thing died before they were settled. She said it was a bargaining chip to win favor from their children. At that rate, just buy another hamster. My ex was like this. Basically gave him everything just so I could leave him. He took most of the money and assets, but I got away from him. Yay. Then he blew all his money and abandoned the kids. Seriously struggled to cope with 100% care and cost, but wouldn't change it. BC, I have my kids and they have me. Still, was very hard to come to terms with the injustice. Sigh. My dad was a lawyer, not me. He once told me that a divorce came in because the wife would just scream at the top of her lungs randomly. Maybe she'll stop screaming after we're married. No, that wasn't it. Luckily it was not a marriage yet, but a friend broke off a 5-year relationship and an engagement in an argument over Panda Express. Their relationship had been strained and he had just moved to a new city for work. During his lunch break she calls him and asked where he was eating. He says Panda Express and she's like, EWW Panda Express. You eat that every day? No, I don't. I might have it once a week. No, you eat there like every day. Then he hangs up on her and they never spoke again. WTF LOL, honestly. I know a couple that divorced annulled after less than 6 months married because the guy started farting around her. Not like at her, but just not holding it in around her anymore. The first time my husband farted in front of me was a few months into dating. It was the worst smell, to this day, that I've ever experienced. He was so ashamed that I had to forgive him, but I was so mad at the time. Turns out he does a lot of terrible farts because he has IBS. If they're really bad, he sleeps on the couch. IDK. I just really love him even when he farts. A woman came in wanting to divorce her husband. He had just gotten a new job and a pretty big raise. It turned out that this new job of his also required that he work from home, but he was working in an office before. She was having an affair with their next door neighbor and him being home more meant that she couldn't cheat on her husband easily. That was definitely a twist. I was expecting something like him being the one having the affair, but nope. I left my husband because he nah babe. I got it at me constantly but would never do it. Last straw was him letting our power go out in July when we had a heat wave and my sick dog was stuck in the heat. I decided to divorce my first husband when he complained about me buying lunch at McDonald's. He had called me at my office, asked what my lunch plans were, and I said I was meeting my friend Kelly at McDonald's. He started complaining about spending money for restaurant food and that I should have packed a lunch from home. We had just that past weekend bought him a new pair of ski boots that cost over $100. It was the final straw. I was unhappy about a few things that I could have overlooked, but to be lectured about spending $6 on a burger and fries was just too much. I let him be for a few minutes, gently hung up the phone, walked into my manager's office to quit, went home and started packing. Friend's wife is a marriage counselor. She had this couple coming in trying to work things out before a divorce. The husband went non-stop on why he wanted the divorce. She said 2 incidents really stuck with her. The first was the husband was doing some yard work and asked the wife to carry some twigs he trimmed from some bushes. He grabs a huge stack and lugs them over to the pile he was going to mulch. Wife just grabs a couple of sticks. He asked if she could carry more than that and she picked up a couple of more sticks. She said the husband emphasized the word couple. The second was the wife told her husband that they had finally gotten to a point in finances where they could buy a new vehicle. The husband said he was excited and sat down with his wife to price vehicles. The husband said every one he showed her was out of their budget. He became extremely frustrated and asked what the budget was. She replied $2,000. That was the tipping point for the divorce. Not a lawyer but worked in education, had a father that informed me Kevin's mom was no longer in the picture since she couldn't learn how to squeeze the top paste properly. He wasn't joking, confirmed by the son. The father is serious about things like that. Yikes. I know a guy whose fiancé nearly called off their wedding because he forgot to disinvite his attractive single female friend. They eventually got divorced over it. Said friend was a part of a larger co-ed friend group. Apparently, the guy in the story was designated driver one evening out when his fiancée was out of town and dropped everyone off at home one by one. He apparently dropped this particular friend off last. Logistically, it made sense on the route he took. She lived closest to his house, but that meant that they were alone together in the car for 8 minutes. They have zero romantic history together. Nothing happened, and they barely interact, save for when they are gathered as a group. His fiancée became highly suspicious of him, and she was convinced something happened between him and the friend, despite him calling as they left the bar. And 30 minutes later, when he arrived home alone, they have a doorbell camera, which she was watching. She asked a bunch of questions about what they talked about at a bar, when they were in the car, and what was said when the two of them were alone. She then casually said she doesn't want her to come to their wedding. He agreed to disinvite her, but he forgot to, and just thought the whole thing would blow over. Well, wedding day arrives, and she shows up in an Uber XL with 4 or 5 members of the friend group. The fiancé can see guests arriving from the bridal suite and throws a full-on tantrum when the friend arrives. The wedding planner locked the bride, groom, best man and maid of honor in their hotel room and told them to work it out. They did not work it out. The bride wanted the groom to tell her to leave, and he tried to point out that would cause way more of a disturbance than if they just let it be and pretend she didn't exist for the day. Wrong answer. The best man eventually got a hold of the groom's phone and called the friend and explained the situation. She left the wedding and hasn't spoken to the groom since. The wedding took place 45 minutes late while the makeup person was called back to fix the bride's makeup. They eventually split after the groom realized that the accusations would never end. Everyone was suspect. His co-workers, his friends' wives, her friends. He couldn't talk to any other woman no matter how harmless the conversation without her getting suspicious. And yes, we all thought she was cheating on him. We made the mistake one time of bringing this up and he became belligerent and attempted to fight everyone. So we left it alone and we'll never know. Yeah, she definitely was. She was freaking other guys and for some reason he had a problem with that. Seriously, she was genuinely mystified that it bothered him. Gaslighting man. She knew the entire time it was wrong, and that her husband would have a major problem with it, but attempting to make it seem like not a big deal. She was hoping he'd second guess his feelings and stay. Not a lawyer, but I'd have to say my divorce was kinda petty. She decided a year and a half after she kicked me out she should divorce me because I didn't come crawling back to her. Funny as she realized too late that when she kicked me out, she didn't have any income. From my experience, if something petty is the stated reason, there's usually a lot more to the story. One of the pettiest reasons was when my female client believed that her husband loved his mother more than he'd ever love her. Now, I'm going to answer a different question. What was the craziest reason for a divorce? Glad you asked. My client, female, was convinced her husband was having an affair. He worked some construction job but always came home smelling great. She finds texts from his work friend Bob where they are planning some late night pipe repairs. Well, this is the South. There is no such thing as gay here, so she believed that him and Bob were just working late. My client feels awful. She thought her husband was cheating, and clearly he wasn't. He cared so much about her that he worked with Bob all through the night. He even cared so much about her sense of smell that he'd even shower so she wouldn't have to smell all the sex. I mean pipe cleaning stuff. She feels so bad. She takes him to dinner. He asks her if she wants a drink, and she sees him walk off to the bar to get their drinks. Most thoughtful husband ever. Well, a minute turns to 5 to 10. Finally she decides she has to find him. She looks everywhere, then realizes that she didn't check the men's room. She's afraid her precious husband is sick. She jiggles the door open. Her husband was on his knees, but he wasn't sick. She caught him giving a stranger a BJ at the bar on their date to make up for the whole "sorry I thought you were having an affair" thing. The reason I know this in such detail, she wrote a 7-page, front and back, letter detailing every sexual thing her husband ever did, thought about, or even looked like he thought about. Jesus, that is wild, lol. Any other married people sitting here wondering if some stupid little thing they did or said it gonna be on Reddit next year? LOL. Babe, if you're reading this, I'm sorry I forgot the egg noodles. I know I sometimes forget things at the grocery store even when I bring a list. The look my wife gave me the last time I farted. I'm not a lawyer, but I've heard of a breakup between a couple because the GF said that their zodiac signs were not compatible and therefore they couldn't be together. When I started dating my ex, my mom totally freaked out because apparently our Chinese zodiacs didn't match yet. She believes in all that superstitious crap. Since that moment, she was subtly trying to break us up. Grocery costs. Literally thought it was a joke or code for something. Turned out she came from a tight budget family and thought he was so wasteful with his paycheck when he bought ribs once a month. Not a lawyer, but one of my philosophy professors, now ex-professor, and his wife got a divorce because he tried to exorcise her. The Christian school didn't take it well and he is no longer a professor there. Well, actually, the couple was getting a divorce due to the wife having a year-long affair with a professor of the rival school across the street. The attempted exorcism didn't help matters, though. Edit. Since several people seem interested, the exorcism didn't work. According to said professor, the couple got a divorce, the professor got some custody of the kids, got screwed in the money matters, and now his ex-wife and kids are moving to Ohio. I guess the thing with the rival school's professor didn't work out for the ex-wife, while his oldest daughter is preparing to go to the school he used to teach at this fall. Poor girl has to pay her way now, when she planned for most of her life on going for free. The whole story was pretty big for a while at school. The professor went to jail illegally for like a month without any accusation against him because he answered a phone call from one of his super young daughters. His wife had filed a protection order for herself, not the children, and the campus police took him away, even though he didn't answer the call on campus. It was a whole scandal and the school was involved way more than it legally should have been. Super weird stuff. According to this professor, the president of the school was demon possessed and that accounted for the whole thing. It gave a portion of the student body something to covertly argue over for a couple weeks. Not a divorce, but a couple I know broke up after the woman had a dream that the guy was cheating on her. Apparently her reasoning was, if it wasn't true, I wouldn't dream about it. She took it so seriously she left him. I've known the guy for a very long time. He maintains he's never been unfaithful to anybody and I believe him. A teacher I had in HS got divorced because his wife didn't like how much sex he had before they had been married. To put in context how petty of a reason that was, they had been married for 12 years and had 3 kids together. She had also met him a few years into his teaching career, which didn't start till he was 32. But to say both sides of the argument, he did have a staggering large amount of sex. He was an Olympian and had been going to the Olympics to compete since he was 18. He was the best teacher to ever have as a homeroom teacher, as the stories he could tell were just surreal. Not divorced, but annulled on their wedding day. I've told the story a few times on Reddit, so long story short time, she told him several hundred times that if he smashed the cake in her face at the reception, it was over. He did it. She walked out and had it annulled the next day. This was over 30 years ago. BTW. My ex thinks I divorced him because my friends told me to. What actually happened was I was bitching about him to a friend and she said, you know, he really is a passive aggressive piece of garbage. He does this all the time. And then I started thinking about how he really did pull that crap all the time and how I wasn't actually depressed. I just hated living with him. She opened my eyes. But I divorced him because he treated me like crap, not because my friend told me to. Good friends are amazing. Not a lawyer and this doesn't exactly fit, but my dad told me he divorced my mom because she didn't do the dishes and keep the house clean. I was 15 and a messy kid. He wanted me to do all chores before he got home. When I was 18, my mom informed me that he was supposed to watch me and my brother while my mom was in the hospital. He decided to go to a bar instead, left me unattended with a child molester to be babysat, then got hella drunk and cheated on my mom. She caught him cheating and divorced him, then demanded full custody with supervised contact after finding out he'd been left with and molested by said pedophile. He was my mom's dad and she was under extreme pressure by her family to let him see me and my brother, but she had been careful to make sure another adult was always there, be it her, a sibling, or her mother. My dad knew what he had done to my mom when she was a kid and still left me with him. Definitely not a petty reason. Hope you have a good relationship with your mom still. My client's wife asked for a divorce after he refused to pay $52,000 per semester for their daughter to go to the private high school the wife had gone to as a child. Not a lawyer but met a mechanic at a bar in Botswana who was apparently a superb fixer of broken vehicles. He seemed quite normal although a bit twitchy after the 10th brandy and coke. He then told me that he had loved his wife but couldn't handle the way she used to cross-thread the lid of her contact lens holder. I nearly killed her but was persuaded to leave her. I'm currently reading A Walk in the Woods by Bill Bryson, where he walks the Appalachian Trail. He heard a good one from the hiker concierge that gave him a ride to the start point. He dropped a guy off with the most expensive gear he'd seen, who made it just 3 days to the first payphone before calling for a ride and flew home. It wasn't what I expected. A week later, he shows back up for a ride to the start. His wife wouldn't let him quit after so much financial commitment. Again, he calls for a ride from the payphone, but this time does not fly home. So I got married at 18. Same story as most. Crappy home life. Needed desperately to get out of the house, so I married the first guy that came around and stayed with him until I was 22. I was working one day and he didn't answer any of my texts or calls. Eventually I got an answer and before I could even say hey, his response was, "What do you want?" "I'm playing Call of Duty." I left him a week later. Most of time, the petty reasons are just the straw that breaks the back. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.